You spoke to those guys from that group. I think they'll always remember Arnhem Land for pretty much for that moment.
Well, that pre-season tour, well, it must have worked, right? Because the Wallabies then did have an incredible World Cup, caused a massive upset by beating, at the time, the All Blacks in the semi-final. See, the most famous moment from that game, the ultimate sledge to Byron Kelleher.
Byron was a feisty little halfback. He was a good player. Played for the obviously All Blacks and the Highlanders. And it was an in-your-face kind of halfback. And like you just knew his presence, and he was good on his feet. But he almost sort of made a lot of noises on the field too. Like he'd be throwing, but he'd like doing all this sort of stuff, and he like he.
I was that typical night,
and then he'd say things like before the game, "I'm gonna go off like a can of fizzy Coke, like a fuzzy Coke, and all this sort of stuff."
That's not bad.
And
yeah, that's good.
And he was, but he could play. But he was like, being honest, he was an annoying guy to play against, and part of his charm was all of that. But he hung on to things, so like if he made a mistake, he'd be thinking about that for a while, and so he was like as good as he was. Like if he did make an error, like he wasn't a goldfish, and so you could potentially point out that he made a few errors, and you know that's going to play on him for a little bit. And we got to the World Cup semi-final. Marshy, my good mate, but he's good, great competitor. But they ran this play. Marshy's probably still filthy, competitive man, good mate. But he's probably laughing, but he probably still is really filthy about it. They ran this play off the exit, like a 4-man insert. So the hooker throws it to him. He's standing at 10. He ran across and he switched the great and late Jerry Collins. And they've been doing this exit play for nearly 18 months with success. Get towards midfield. They've got a left footer, right footer, and they just clear. So we get to the semi-final, you do your tape, and everyone, okay, we know they're going to go to that 4-man insert, it's going to go to Marshy, JC's on the inside, okay. And most of the time, even if you waited for Jerry Collins, like Jerry Collins was a bit of he was part of the concrete 15, like, you know what I mean? Like he was built of concrete, people would break their shoulders trying to tackle him. So he was just tough. He was really hard, JC. Beautiful man, beautiful human being. Yeah, what a special human being. But we said, well, why would we let Marshy just have that time in the world to drop off JC? Why don't Georgie, as in Georgie Smith, not me, Georgie, wouldn't it be a good idea if you just put a bit of line speed and really just look to just smash him?
With or without the ball?
Oh, with the ball.
Wow.
But like he's going to run that skinny switch. So that's what happened. So he throws it. He's just as he's about to throw it, Georgie's just left and bangs and clocked him, got him really good because he's like a little switch. You sort of got the side of your body exposed. You can't really see that. So Georgie's got him pretty good. And he played on till half time, but he had bad ribs. Like he couldn't play it. He couldn't play the second half. It cooled down. He couldn't. So Byron comes on and proceeds to not play, I think, at the same level as Marshy. Proceeds to make a few errors. The match is sort of pretty tight, and it's getting to that point where it's close. It's never, mate, 10 points is never really enough against New Zealand, but it's winding down, and they've made another error, and they've lost their mojo a bit. And it's just that moment where he's made that error. I'm coming off the bottom of the ruck. Little did I know, would it change now if I thought those cameras were on me at the time? But and you let him know. The cycle. Let him know the cycle of a World Cup, which is a 4-year cycle, and just
let him.
It was just directed at Byron, but the cameras and every Kiwi to this moment and to this day they still think it's directed at him. But I had a few of those All Blacks saying that was a good call. Like that was play on. Like there's always a bit of that on the field.
Yeah.
Like it's like I was never on the end of it. Like I was seriously
it's beautiful.
Well, it was a moment. It was a moment that was captured between myself and Byron. But the cameras interfered. And I actually worked with that cameraman at Fox Sports. So he said, I got that shot. I said, you're the one to blame. Why did you zoom in on that?
They've got long memories as well, the Kiwis, because I think it was the 2011 World Cup semi-final, and there was like 60,000 people chanting 4 more years.
That was it. I was with Eilsey commentating. I had the whole of Eden Park just like chanting. And
4 more years.
Yeah, that was
like a presidential rally.
Yeah, it was quite interesting. Yeah, it was definitely.
Were you bad for sledging? You're a 9, so you must have been a bit chirpy.
Yeah, a bit chirpy, but not like everyone talks about. It's part of you chat. Like, what was funny, other than that, I think we played the final the next week. Dorse tried to use that on me. I think at some time I said, Dorse, come on, you've got to come up with some your own.
Come on,
Come up with your own chat.
get your own material, mate.
Come on, Dorse.
Yeah, see a perfect response. Yeah, I get you.
Speaking of that game, though, what are your recollections of the 2003 World Cup final?
Martin Johnson and that grew, the Leicester boys in that forward, like definitely hardened warrior. Johnny Wilkinson kicking, all that sort. He was tough. Like he was mentally tough, but physically very strong too. But he was carrying a bad right shoulder. We knew that, and he went down, I think, pretty early in that World Cup, and we thought he was gone. But you saw it, I think, probably 2 years prior to that. He was probably almost gone in the second British and Irish Lions test, and he plays the next week. So he's strong of will, strong mind, strong of character. So I think maybe in the modern day, Tins, my good mate Tins, would be red carded when he tipped me on my head.
Yeah, that one.
There we go.
If
That
you're
was the one I was going to ask.
listening,
That was a bit of a
Tins.
hit.
Yeah, that was the one. He would have, like, he's tipped me on thingo, like the ball was over. I'd kind of given up, and I'm like 78 kilograms, being wet by that stage. I think I was always trying to cheat my my weight, but he got me. And I remember it was a back. He came over and gave me a gobful as well. It was good. Like that was kind of it was a really strong English team over that period. A really strong, and we went at it really hard, which is kind of nice. But in the modern day, that's Tins is red carded. Yeah, Tins is a filthy player.
Everything's red carded now.
Oh, yeah. Back in my day.
Was it not as hard of a defeat to take? And I'm sure, of course, it's a World Cup final, but having you'd been there, you'd climbed the summit. Was there an element of wow, we were part of an amazing spectacle at home?
Maybe post. It takes a while. Like you knew you were part of something special, but the something special would have been what New Zealand did in 2015. We could have done in 2003, gone back to back. So we were fully aware of that. No one had done that in World Cup history at that stage, and we knew what we were chasing. And we weren't defending the World Cup. We were going to win it because you can't, like, that was just our attitude, because it's 99's different, totally different set of circumstances, different group of players, etc. But we're all very focused on trying to create that bit of history with that team and go back to back. So, our form was very inconsistent leading into it, but we knew we could beat anyone on any given day. But it was a matter of being prepared for that tournament, which is a different tournament. Like when we get to France in fast forward a few months, no one's really going to care about. Like I love the Six Nations and I love what's going to happen in Britain. No one's really going to care about that once you get to quarterfinals. It's like who turns up today. Like it's front up all, pack your bags and go home. You don't really experience that in any other competition you play except the World Cup, or particularly at that intensity. There's knockout footy you play, but that's the reality of it. So we were prepared well for that, but we got to extra time, and I wish Johnny had probably kicked that maybe a minute and a half earlier than he did. But they managed the clock pretty well.